Roseman does the draft. Vic Fangio does the defense. And you don't want Nick Sirianni over the offense. Are they going to fire Nick Sirianni? No, they're not. He has the resume. Deep down, we know he ain't no elite coach. He's not. He has elite results. He's not an elite coach. Just not.
I may have to defend Nick Sirianni here. Shout out MJ, makes great Eagle content. You know what I'm saying? We don't have to see eye to eye on everything. And in this case, I don't necessarily disagree with a large part of MJ's point, which I think is really about the fact that, hey, if you're the head coach and you're an offensive guy and we can't, in a way, trust you with the offense, what the hell are you good for? Now, Howie Roseman is going to talk about this, and I'm going to put the clip on later in a press conference that I was watching, right? But what I want to say about Nick Sirianni is this, right? Number one, the way we detach from results, I don't know if this is a Philly fan thing or just a sports thing, and I thought the NFL was better than this than the NBA. The way we detach ourselves from results is a bit disturbing. And I don't mean like, it'd be one thing if the players detach themselves from results, meaning they showed up every day like, no matter if we won or lost, we got to keep going. But as fans, the point of the game is to win, right? And Nick Sirianni, except for what, the first year, every year's been here, playoffs. Been in the Super Bowl twice, has won one. Now, I get the response, right? Well, you have one of the greatest owners in sports. You have one of the best GMs in sports. But let's deep dive into that a little bit, because that doesn't give Nick Sirianni credit for being the glue that he needs to be. If you put a guy in a system, right, and that guy, and I think like this is also kind of why people act the way they act when it comes to Jalen Hurts. And your argument is that all these other things, the defensive coordinator is great, the GM is great, the owner is great, and therefore it results in a Super Bowl title. That means he's the perfect guy for this job. So results-wise, since when is making the playoffs every year, winning a bowl, going to the bowl twice, doesn't mean you're doesn't mean you're elite. And also fit-wise, maybe he's the best fit. Now, what I will say Nick went wrong this year, okay, and I'm going to speak to his weakness, is he was loyal to a fault. Him and Kevin Patullo, from what I can see, they've worked together from a very long time, coming from that Indy system where Nick was the coordinator, the offense coordinator, and I believe Patullo was on the staff under, I believe, Frank Wright, right? And I believe Shane Steichen, too. So there's a loyalty thing there because these guys have worked together. They're trying to make a career out of themselves. So when you get up there, you win a bowl, Howie's like, all right, go ahead, pick your own coordinator. I'll give you a second time to do this experiment. It didn't work out. And yes, he could have cut ties a lot earlier. But what I think you should give Nick Sirianni credit for, as a fan, I know I'm pissed when he doesn't get rid of Patullo during the year, right? Is understanding those moments, understanding it could have bred a little more chaos. Nick Sirianni's weakness, though, I think is more about a scheme thing. And I'm going to go to my next and final point. It's a scheme thing because although he was an offensive coordinator, he wasn't a play caller in that Indy system. Okay, I believe Frank Wright called his own plays. So the only option that Nick Sirianni would have had was to choose to call plays, but he wasn't a play caller. Now, the reality is, but what he does do well, when I see the behind the scenes, is understanding how to keep the ship afloat, understanding the things that lose you football games, and he coaches those things hard, right? And when you look at these scheme guys that a lot of us have fallen in love with, especially offensive guys, let's keep it a bean. We see some of these guys so focused on play calling. I know it's working out this year, and we can see it in the playoffs this year. We see a lot of these guys so focused on play calling that they've fallen short on other parts of the game, either not focusing on the defense, not knowing when to call a timeout, not managing guys right, just so obsessed with offense. And you look at the Eagles' history, and you compare the last two guys. Andy Reid, granted, didn't have the receivers, didn't have the weapons. Donovan wasn't really the guy, for him to get over that hump. Even though I love Donovan, he wasn't the guy. But Andy Reid, to a fault too, sometimes fell in love with his play calling. Sometimes kind of, made certain decisions. You're like, sometimes people beefing. It's like Andy. Now, he went over to the Chiefs. Well, granted, he gets Patrick Mahomes, but let's be honest, right? He also starts getting some of the things that he didn't get from the Eagles, which was getting Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, and the Chiefs being committed to giving Patrick Mahomes those weapons as well, and it makes Andy Reid's life better. And then obviously, you team up with a guy like Steve Spagnuolo, like there were things there, like, you understand what I'm saying? That helped. Then you look at Doug Peterson. Doug Peterson on one end, yeah, you could kind of say, he's schematically better than Nick Sirianni, but guess what? Doug Peterson, from what I heard, once Howie and them was like, we got to switch coordinators, Doug was pushing back. So clearly he's not as much of a gel. And that's why they got him out of there the way Nick Sirianni is. So I think we got to be careful what we wish for. When we're detaching from results, clearly show that the guy does something well. He does something well. And if his weaknesses are that, you have to get guys that are talented at the jobs below him, and then he's good from then great. That is what it is. Anyway, I'm going to put, Howie Roseman's clip here that I think kind of summarizes my thoughts.
I just would say, with Coach, I got a lot of things that I'd like to say about Coach and the job that he's done here. I'm incredibly proud of him. But, he's shown that when we bring people in that he's open to doing whatever's best for this football team. And that's all he cares about is winning. And so anything that he's answering here obviously is dependent on who we bring in. But when he's brought in people, he's given them the flexibility to put their own spin on things. And obviously, I sit here and I feel incredibly grateful that I'm working with someone who, as a head coach, is elite at being a head coach, elite at building connection with our team, elite about talking about fundamentals, game management, situational awareness, bringing the team together, holding people accountable. And when you're looking for a head coach, those are really the job descriptions. And as you're building out a coaching staff, you're talking about being able to do that, being able to have elite play callers on both sides of the ball. And when you think about how hard it is to find those three things and that we have one, we're starting with a huge advantage. So